All right, y'all. Welcome. I am Marla Renee Stewart, the owner of Velvet Lip Sex Ed. I'm super proud of Monica, who is here, who is a part of my Be Successful coaching program, to be a part of, to do her workshop on seed cycling. If you're like, what the hell is seed cycling? Like I was, this is going to be a great workshop for you to understand your body more and she'll give you the rest on what that is. But if you don't know Monica, Monica founded Twisted Intimacy, which is her company, because she wanted to create a safe space for women and couples to learn what intimacy, love, and sensuality truly means. Her goal is for you to become more confident, intentional, and seductive to improve your relationship with self and others. So she specializes in blending sexual health education with sensual body movement to give a unique and creative experience, learning about your body, mind, and purpose. And if you haven't seen her workshop on my website underneath shop, you will check out the twerking class that she did on for Clit Fest. So it was pretty amazing. So please go and check it out. But by using her education and her personal journey, she crafts her courses, presentations, and workshops around knowing the foundations of intimacy, love, and sensuality, and navigating your journey through them. So Monica is certified Indiana University sexual health professional, certified in various sensual body movement modalities such as twerk technician, a certified 1.0 liquid motion instructor, a liquid pole, and a level 2 Reiki healer. In her free time, Monica loves to crochet turtles, by the way. You get to know Monica a little bit more. Go out to wineries and anime conventions and watch movies. So you always can catch her at a Blurred Con. So without further ado, Monica, thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Marla. Marla's like one of my top people ever. I'm thankful to be part of her Be Successful program. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm really excited about this topic, y'all. It's something that okay. Yeah, it's something that is really, really important for me. And I have gotten to learn so much more about my own body and just about what a lot of things regarding our health when we go to the doctor, that the knowledge that we're lacking, like this is all part of it. So let me get to it. I'm trying to all the buttons and all the screens. All right. Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen and can you guys still hear me? Let me know when
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so let's get to it. So excited. So this is a twisted cycle, seed cycling for beginners. And again, my name is Monica. Marla gave me the wonderful introduction, so I'm not going to continue further with that, but just a few more things about me. I graduated from the Norfolk State University, and I'm a graduate of from Virginia Tech, and my background's actually in computer science. This is going to be all important for the story later, so just bear with me. I just had to let y'all know that now. But what is Twisted Intimacy? Again, it's a safe space for women, for couples, for people that have a uterus to strategize your life to have a healthy relationship with yourself personally, professionally, and socially. So what that means, y'all, is pretty much if y'all come with me and y'all follow my journey, y'all will see a holistic perspective of how to really flow with what your body is doing, with what you're trying to do with your purpose in life and things of that nature. And if y'all know my story from the beginning, like y'all know, it's amazing of how I got here. But let's talk about it, right? So in the chat, could y'all put down like currently, how do y'all feel about your period? Are you somebody that's happy-go-lucky? You got a smile on your face, you're bubbly, you're the person that's like, what period? Oh, period. Oh. Put a 1 in chat if that's you. Or are you a 2 where it's like, get me some Midol, get me a heated pad in my blankets and all of the things. Give me all of the chocolate, all of the heavy, like the heavy foods. I need it all for my body right now. So put down in the chat. And if you're something that's in between, Do a 1.5. All right, we got some ones, we got some ones, we got some twos. Okay, okay, okay. So I'm just gonna let y'all know our periods are not supposed to be something that is a time of misery. Use that as a time of rest, because there's definitely a difference between being miserable and just resting. Definitely a huge difference. So in order to understand what seed cycling really is, you're going to have to understand how your cyclical cycle actually, well, like what that is, right? And when I mention a cyclical cycle, think of it like this. Everyone's body has different rhythms, right? So typically the circadian rhythm is found in everybody, right? That's that 24-hour clock. So once you wake up and then go to bed, that's your 24-hour clock of what you do in between there. But if you are somebody with a uterus, if you're somebody that has ovaries, you are what's known as a cyclical being. So we don't get blessed with one rhythm, we get blessed with two. And so that's your infradian rhythm. And with that is, think of it as a phase, different phases compared to the seasons, right? So they're broken down into 4 phases. I like to start with menstruation because that's what typically we think about when we think about our cycles. Plus, it's easier to do seed cycling. I'll get to that in a second. But you want to start with menstruation. Everybody knows typically what menstruation is, right? So you got that. Then once you move from menstruation, you move to follicular. That's your follicular phase. Think of that as this is the time where it's like you're coming out of hibernation, you're getting back into the world, and it's springtime, right? Then you have ovulation. Ovulation is when you ready to pounce on someone or something, and you are just a social butterfly. We'll get more into all of these in a second. I'm gonna explain further. But the last one is your luteal phase, and your luteal phase, think of it as fall, like still out and about, still outside, but you starting to come back inside, and you're starting to kind of dwindle down and start preparing your body for menstruation. Okay. So everybody, for the most part, is very familiar with menstruation. However, when we think about menstruation, we typically just associate it with our periods, and that's it, right? And I don't know about y'all, but when I first came on my cycle, I was 12, and my period bleeding was very heavy. I was bleeding through pads. My period bleeding lasted 13 days, and I thought it was normal. No one told me it wasn't normal to be that heavy and to have my cycle last that long. And I didn't know what was going on. It wasn't until I was 31 years old and took a course, and here we are. And when you menstruate, your menstruation, the bleeding portion, should typically last from 3 to 7 days, and they should be pain-free. And yes, I mean that they should be pain-free. Like, the most that you should be feeling is that you are bleeding, if that makes sense. But there should be no pain associated. So you won't need the Midol, you won't need the heating pad and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't need all that. But this is also a time when your hormone levels and energy levels are very low. So you want to rest. You don't want to be going hard in the paint, doing 5-mile runs, and then doing all these errands and all these things while you're in your menstruation phase, because of the fact that, hey, you may not have enough energy to sustain yourself during this period. So give yourself extra care, extra nutrition. If you craving a certain food, by the way, give yourself permission to have that food, because your body is telling you that whatever the food you craving, so if you craving a Big Mac or something, whatever's in that Big Mac, your body is saying, like, I need that. I need whatever's in this Big Mac. And then there's also like some food diagrams for cravings. You could Google those. We're not going to get into that today, but it is definitely very helpful to find healthy alternatives to those cravings to see what it is that your body is truly missing. But that's a whole different conversation for a whole nother day. But this is the part where I really want you guys to pay attention to. And if this is something that you don't experience, definitely open this conversation up with people around you that may have these experiences, right? So the possible signs that you have a hormonal imbalance are as follows. You have a heavy or very painful periods. Like it feels like somebody is stabbing you in your uterus. Like I've had that. I would never forget that. Your periods are longer than 7 days. Like I mentioned before, it should be between 3 and 7, but it shouldn't be 7 days. And you also should not be bleeding through your pads or bleeding through your tampons. If you're bleeding like that, that's definitely a sign that something is off. And it's not always like PCOS or endometriosis and things of that nature. It could be as simple as, hey, your body needs something a little extra. We'll get into that in a second. If you have large clots, and when I say large clots, I'm talking about clots that are bigger than a quarter. So where's my quarter at? I had a quarter actually on my desk earlier, but if it's bigger than a quarter, that's definitely a sign that there's an imbalance happening within your body. If you have absent or irregular periods, I know for some folks that may be their normal. However, I highly encourage you to go to your doctor and actually discuss a lot of this information, because not having a period or having irregular periods, that is not normal. And there may be something underlying that is going on. Mood changes. So if you're somebody that goes from 0 to 100, like for no reason, like at all, that may be a sign that we got some imbalance going on, because it again, with the PMS symptoms that we're so accustomed to experiencing, I promise y'all that's not normal. Well, let me rephrase, because even saying that's not normal is like, what is normal, right? It's something that is a sign that something's going on with your body, there's an imbalance present, okay? And if you're somebody that gets extremely tired, like, I mean, honor your body and go take that nap. But if you notice that you're sleeping a very long time throughout the day, that may be a sign of hormonal imbalance. And if you guys are comfortable, put in the chat what do you experience when you're going through this bleeding phase, your menstruation phase. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Okay. So as I mentioned before, follicular. Your follicular phase comes right after menstruation. So it is so important, y'all, to track this. Like, I know with some of us, we were taught to track our period, like from when we start bleeding to when we stop. But it's really important for you guys to also track the rest of these phases too. And I'll give you some tips on how to do that at the end. But when I say knowing this makes so much sense. So after you finish bleeding, you experience menstruation. And this should last, well, give it 5 to 7 days. It just depends, because everybody is different. Everybody is different. So what I forgot to mention earlier is that the total amount of days, like total for your cyclical phase, a healthy range is between 26 and 32 days. So keep that in mind. Everybody's going to be different, but 26 to 32 days, because we'll get into it in a little bit. But if you have a shorter cyclical cycle periods, that's also fine. Something else is underlying and going on. So again, follicular is springtime. We coming out of hibernation. We are, you're gonna start feeling your energy coming back. You can do a little bit more. You may notice that your libido is it's coming. It's purring. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna notice a lot of your energy levels just in general is going to increase because your hormone levels are increasing at this point in time. And you'll also start seeing the presence of mucus. So along with tracking your whole entire cyclical cycle, you also want to track the mucus that comes out. This is going to be so important for the next phase, y'all. So important. But you'll start seeing the presence of mucus, and because all mucus ain't bad. All mucus is not bad. But the possible signs that there may be an imbalance, you may be experiencing acne. There may be like extreme vaginal dryness, low estrogen symptoms, low libido. You're still fatigued, delayed ovulation. So pretty much, if you're still experiencing some symptoms from as if you were still bleeding, that also could be signs that you are experiencing a hormonal imbalance. Now, why I mentioned that you gotta also track that mucus, right? So the most important part of being a cyclical being is ovulation, believe it or not. And with ovulation, think of it like this. When your body is ovulating, it means that, hey, I feel safe to bring life into this world. If you think of it like that, everything about what this is about makes a lot of sense, and why this part is really important. When you are ovulating, this is definitely this you'll know it. Oh, you'll know it. You'll notice people are going to be a lot nicer to you. You're going to notice that your partner or people around you are going to be like, "Ooh, who that? Ooh, you look good." You might be getting free drinks that night, free meals. Look, I've seen it all. Listen, listen, you know when somebody's ovulating because they just got that glow on them. It's like, ooh, like who that? And your libido is gonna be very, very high. Like you ready to pounce on somebody or something. Like it's you know when you ovulating. And again, this is letting your body know, or pretty much your body's letting you know that, hey, we're ready to bring life into this world. But also know this, that the egg is only viable for up to 24 hours. So when folks are if you're trying to conceive, this is definitely something you want to track, because again, you only ovulate for up to 24 hours, like, and then that's it. Okay. So this is like a very important moment that you experience every month, if you experience it every month. And the sign of imbalance is if you don't. And in order to track when you ovulate, I actually wear something called a temp drop, and it tracks my basal body temperature. And it's the easiest way for me to track it, because I am not getting up every morning at the same time every morning to take my oral temperature. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I cannot do it. So it's a wearable device. You wear it at night, right before you go to bed, and it tracks your temperature. But the thing is, you have to wear it every day. Okay. Like you can't just wear it once a week, or no. You got to wear it every day. Think of this as a way of collecting data on your own body for yourself. And to know when you ovulate is when your basal body temperature is at its lowest. Because what will happen is, as you're experiencing your follicular phase, you're going to notice that your temperature is going to go down. And as your temperature starts to go down at that lowest point, that's when you're supposed to be ovulating, and then it's going to spike back up. So at that lowest point, that's when you know you ovulated. Okay. Just in case you guys wanted to know that. So you can use that if you're trying to conceive, or if you're not trying to conceive at the moment. You can use it for either or. But it's really, really important to track that every day and to be consistent with it, because if you miss a couple of days, it's going to throw things off. Plus, with the Temp Drop app, it actually helps track your follicular and ovulation, luteal. It tracks all your phases for you too, and gives you a way to track your mucus. Another way you know you ovulated is that your mucus is really, really slippery. Think of like an egg white, or it's like water. Like water. Because think of like when your mucus is sticky, it's like, ain't nothing coming up in here. But when your mucus is like slippery and egg white, like it's like, oh yes, slide right on through. So that's also a tall tale sign that you're ovulating or about to ovulate. And now we come to our luteal phase. So again, if you want to think of ovulation as summertime, that's summertime. Like you're a social butterfly, you get it all going on, you networking, you dating, you out and about. That's your social period. Your luteal phase, I think of it like this. You know how autumn has that well, I live in Virginia, y'all. So like our autumn is like this. It can get really hot still, like summertime, but towards that latter part of autumn, it get cold. Well, for me, it get cold. So think of this part of your cycle like that. So as you start to come into this phase, it lasts about between 10 to 14 days. And this is the time where you may start experiencing those PMS symptoms. You could, I know for me, sometimes like I'll have like some interesting cravings. And then I'll start noticing a little bit of acne, like around my chin area, like in this area, or along my cheekbones here. And again, that's also a tall tale sign like, hey, either your diet's a little bit off or you have a hormonal imbalance at the moment. So think of tracking those symptoms and just seeing how your diet, stress levels, all that contributes to this phase. But that this is literally the time where it's like, yep, I know I'm about to come on my cycle because I'm craving that Big Mac. I'm craving them chips. I'm craving this pudding and stuff like that. But the signs that there's an imbalance is that you have a very short cycle. So again, that's less than 26 days. So definitely take that into consideration. Also, if you have trouble getting pregnant, if that's what you're choosing to do at the moment, you have low progesterone, and that also attributes to if you ovulate or not, and then severe PMS. Ooh, so I went through all of the phases that are being a cyclical being that we go through. All right, I went through all 4 of them phases. Let me know in the chat if you learned something about that that was new and something that's intriguing. Because again, we don't get taught a lot about this. I know I didn't hear anything about going through phases until about 3 years ago. So here we are. Here we are. Okay, we got some praise hands. All right, all right, all right. Look, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going because listen. So now that you know about your phases, what we're gonna start doing, we're gonna start tracking these phases. And in order to do seed cycling, you need to track these phases because there's a certain blend that you need in order to give your body the right minerals and nutrients for that time period. Because as you can see, we're in seasons, we're seasonal. So we're going to need different things at different times. So for menstruation and for follicular, if y'all want to write this down, write this down. For those 2 phases, you want to take in the combination of the following: pumpkin and brown flax seeds. Okay. And then for sesame and for your ovulation and luteal phases, you want to do a combination of sesame and sunflower seeds. And with these 2 blends, again, you want to make sure that you're incorporating this at that point that point of your cycle. And then you also want to make sure that you're grinding them up and that is fresh. Like don't try to put just regular pumpkin seeds and flax seeds into your stuff ungrounded because your body's not going to digest it. Think about corn. Okay, that's the best way I can put this. Think about how your body digests corn. Your body's going to treat treat these seeds just like that. So you have to grind them up so that your body can actually absorb what you're giving it. And again, these help with hormonal imbalance and digestion. So what you'll do is you'll take a tablespoon of each seed. So again, if we're doing, if we're in our follicular and menstruation phase, it will be pumpkin and brown flax seeds, and a tablespoon of each. And you just put that into, grind it up, and you can put it in whatever foods that you like. I will say, if you're somebody that is like, okay, I need to meal prep this, I would, for me, because I'm a creature of habit, I personally like to just grind them up every morning. That is with the seeds still in the bag. But if you do grind them up in bulk, you want to put that in a refrigerator and try to use that as quickly as you can. Because again, those are fresh seeds, and the longer that you wait to digest them, you may not be getting all the nutrients. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, just refrigerate if you do grind these up and you're trying to do this in bulk. Same with sesame and sunflower during your luteal and ovulation phases. A tablespoon of each, grind them up. You can put them in whatever you like. One of my favorite recipes is oatmeal. Because when I say it, because you only got to do this once a day. But hear me and hear me well. You got to do this once a day, every day. Okay, you can't, if you start skipping days and you come back and say, well, Monica, it didn't work out for me. Well, first thing I'm gonna ask you is, did you do this every day? And if you say no, I'm gonna highly encourage you to go back and try this every day. That's literally all you need. You need a tablespoon of each of those seed blends once a day. That's it. And I like to put mine in oatmeal. I like to put a dash of cinnamon and honey, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the day. And I know this is something that's like, that's it? I thought it would be more complicated than that. Look, I know some of y'all don't know me. I like doing things that are simple and that are easy to incorporate into my schedule. Because if it gets too complicated, I'm going to look at it, maybe try it out for a week or two, and then I'm going to say, you know what, F this. Because it's like, what are we doing here? But sometimes the things that are most helpful are very, very simple to do and simple tip to incorporate. Because I promise y'all, I have been doing this since October of 2021. And for proof, I have pictures, and I can actually see the difference in my pictures now. So I had that picture for my before, that was from 2019. I was somebody, again, I had a 13-day cycle. When I first started, it became an 11-day cycle. And I experienced like bloating. And I was somebody that I was doing pole and I was doing all the things, but I always had this bloating pouch. And I'm just like, I don't know how to get rid of this. And when I would talk to my trainers, they would tell me to go these extreme diets, and I tried the diets, but it was still there. And it was like I could barely see my abs. I could not figure out what was going on. So in this area right here, y'all, so typically if you are experiencing it bloating like that, it typically does mean that you are experiencing a hormonal imbalance. So definitely, again, try seed cycling, because I went from that to this here. This was taken last year, and I started to notice that within 3 months of doing this. So again, you have to be consistent. Consistency is the key. But I promise y'all, I saw results. I noticed that my cycle was starting to get shorter and started to become less painful. And so going from this 11 to 13-day cycle to a 7 to 8-day cycle, and very recently I'm up to 6 days. Do y'all know how happy I am? And how like all the weird looks I would get when I would tell people I'm still on my period, and they were like, "You're still on your period? What do you mean? Like mine's only 4 days." See, again, nobody told me that these long period cycles that I was experiencing. No one told me that was normal. So again, I don't have that bloating anymore. When I'm on my period, I can see my abs now. Like it's this is real. I'm not somebody that would just tell y'all some lies just to no. No, I've tried this. It really, really does work. And again, y'all see my results here. And I personally, I've seen it more so like, again, I saw it in my belly, but I'm starting to see it more in my face now. And this also too, I have been more mindful of what I've been eating because I'm also lactose intolerant. I'm allergic to peanuts and all of these things. But it, again, when you start knowing your body and you start realizing that your womb health does determine a lot of what's going on overall, listen, you just start flowing with your cycle and you become less ashamed of it. Because I think at the end of the day, like we're taught to not like our periods. And I am here to tell y'all that it don't gotta be that way. It doesn't at all. So, what's next? Monica, you told me about seed cycling. You told me about all these things. Where do I go? What do I what do I do now? So, this is your moment to really take your womb health seriously. Again, look at your diet, and look at the food intolerances that you may or may not have. I'm not going to stress this enough. It wasn't until I found out that I was allergic to peanuts that I mean, I knew I was lactose intolerant, but I was still eating the mac and cheese and eating all of the ice cream and things of that nature. And now I'm like, ooh, I can only have a little bit or not at all. But definitely look into that because that does play a factor in your hormones, in your hormone levels, and also just your overall wellness. Because if you are lactose intolerant, like I am, I know I was really inflamed on the inside, and I could tell because I felt swollen. Like, but that's a whole different conversation for a whole nother day. All right. So another important thing I don't know y'all like that. But I want y'all, if y'all want to put in the chat, if you've ever been told that you have a vitamin D deficiency, because them vitamin D levels, we need to take that more seriously, especially when we talk about our womb health. I promise you, I promise you that by me really taking my vitamin D deficiency seriously and taking my vitamin D supplements now, that's also what attributed to my shortened period bleeding because I thought it was a fluke. And then this month I was just like, oh, it's not a fluke. And I'm not spotting prior to me bleeding because before, like the way I count my first day is the first day that I spot or bleed. So if I'm spotting, that's my first day. But now it's like I just bleed, and I've never experienced that before. But I also started taking my vitamin D supplements, so definitely do that. Also, you want to track your body's responses to your daily habits. So that's diet, that's working out, that's work, other stress factors in your life. If you are involved in an organization, if you are involved in your hobbies or your kids' things, definitely track all of that and see how that's affecting your overall health. Because we live in a society right now, y'all, where they implant that hustle culture. And hustle culture is not wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But if you are somebody that wants to flow more with what your body's doing, hustle culture is going to be more damaging to you in the long run than if you start really taking into consideration that, you know what, I really don't feel like doing this right now, and I don't have the energy levels to support this. So I definitely encourage you guys to look at those daily habits. And also, you could get a seed cycling journal, which for those that are in attendance here, I do have a 1 month freebie for you guys. And I also have my own seed cycling journal where I go into much more detail about the phases, about seed cycling and also give you a couple of more recipes and tips on what you need to do. Because I don't know about y'all, but I'm somebody that I really like to know what's going on, and I want to be able to do my own research and things like that. So I also give you some of the resources as well that I use, because at the end of the day, like, I know I didn't come up with this, but it's something that, like, seed cycling has been around for hundreds of years. But a lot of this information is not really given to us, and we have to be advocates for our own health. So I have that available. And again, I do have my freebie for you guys with a couple of quick tips and a checklist, just to make sure that, you know, track what you're doing now. And then when you are ready to start seed cycling, you know, y'all know who to call. So, does anybody have any questions? Did you learn something new? You can unmute or you can put it in the chat. It doesn't matter to me.
This was amazing. Thank you. Um, I don't have any. Well, I do have one question of just like, how do we like convince I'm a real hippie. So like, how do we know? Like, I have a friend who had just came off of like a month period, you know, and I'm just like, how do I get them this information to let them know, like, hey, you should be checking into this. Like, do I point them to your journal? Like, what are the ways that I can get them to get this info? Because you know it's kind of it's a bit hippie-ish. It was, you know, it's a bit, I mean, you know, but it's like the old school medicine ways, and I, you know, I think it's great to have. So yeah, just your
Yes.
advice.
Oh, yes. So I actually put in here just some resources and where you guys can can get your seeds and all that other stuff, but also this presentation as well. But working with me, this is definitely something that I talk about in my one-to-one coaching, in my group coaching workshops and things of that nature. Like, we definitely go through this in depth, because this is only the beginning, y'all. So we have seed cycling, yes, but there's a whole bigger picture here called cycle syncing, or the cycle sync method. And with that, that's how you're able to blend pleasure. You're able to blend work. If you're an entrepreneur, business, all of that, you're able to cycle sync, but you got to know the phases that you're of your cycle that you're in. So I do offer that type of coaching, and it's definitely, I'm telling you, it's some life-changing information, because again, it's from personal experience though, because it shouldn't be that at the big age of 31, I'm just finding out that a 13 days period bleeding is not normal. Like, that's not okay. And for the information that is out there about abnormal symptoms, it goes to the extreme of endometriosis and PCOS. And even with that, that's a whole thing to try to diagnose. And you got to definitely talk to your doctor. So again, I do coach on this, but I'm also going to point you in the direction of, hey, have you talked to your doctor? Are you familiar with what else you may have been diagnosed with in the past? And we work from there, because yeah, it's so much more. It's so much more. I like to blend Western medicine and I guess the more
Yeah.
holistic medicine together, because it's definitely something.
Yeah, so there's a
Okay,
question in the
let's
chat.
go.
It says, they definitely learned something new. How do you know which phase you are in if your period is MIA?
Okay, so that's a good question. Oh, I love that type of question. Okay, so what you got to do, so this is gonna sound hippie-ish, I'm not gonna lie. What you're gonna do is you're actually gonna follow the moon phases. Okay. So follow it like kind of like this. So with the new moon, associate that with menstruation. So you will want to do and this is when you actually will need to start seed cycling as well. So at the new moon, you'll seed cycle for you'll start seed cycling with the pumpkin and brown flaxseed for 14 days. And then when it gets to the half moon, that's like about when ovulation starts, you want to switch to sesame and sunflower, and then you'll do that until the full moon, and you'll kind of go like that. Uh-oh. So you'll kind of go like that. So just start at the new moon, 14 days, take the pumpkin and brown flaxseed, and then for the next 14 days, take the sesame and sunflower blend. And just be consistent with that. And I will also, I don't know if you've talked to your doctor or not, but definitely talk to your doctor. And if you're on birth control, that's kind of a different, it's kind of a different story. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But bottom line, the bleeding that you do on your when you're on birth control, or if you don't get if you don't bleed on birth control, that's not the bleeding that it's you're bleeding, but you're not bleeding.
It's like fake bleeding.
Yeah,
It's like it's
fake
not a
bleeding.
real, yeah, it's like not a real period. It's just yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The full bleed. It's the full bleed.
The Business of Birth Control is a really great movie that explains why birth control can be so harmful. But that's one of the things. It's sort of like the fake bleeding that it gives you instead of your real, what your body should be doing. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And I was once on birth control too, and the reason I'm not is because of the symptoms that I didn't even realize were associated with birth control, but I was started to experience. So I don't necessarily fool with it, but I do understand if some folks need it, but I don't fool with it. So if it's related to that, you can still see cycle, but you're not going to see the full benefits of this if you're still on birth control. I will say that. That was a good question. Does anybody have any more?
Well, if there are no more questions, please make sure you check out Monica's document there, her audience resource list, where you can find the seeds and you can support Monica. That way you can get access to the seed cycling journal and you get a free 1-month seed cycling calendar and checklist. So please make sure you check it out, as well as the presentation on there if you need some help with that. And then please don't forget to fill out the feedback form. Please let us know how Monica did. And we would love to, hear your responses. And if there's anything else you were like, Monica, you need to cover this, or the next class needs to be on birth control, I don't know. But, whatever the case is, please make sure you check that out and fill out that feedback form. So thank you again, Monica, so much. And I appreciate you coming through here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I definitely appreciate this opportunity.